Hello everyone, my name is Josiah Fallaise. I design a lot of components. I own FDF Raceshop and I work a lot with 3D scans and mesh files. This is how I choose to orient my 3D scans within Fusion. I do use other softwares to orient my meshes typically, but there are really good ways to do this within Fusion, not using the standard align commands in the direct edit mesh functions. So pay close attention. I make very high precision parts using these mesh files very accurately. I produce everything that I design and we run all of these products on race cars. So it does work. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm in a hybrid design. This is new to Fusion. They have three options: single part, hybrid design, and an assembly. Hybrid design is kind of the best of both. The next thing I'm going to do is go to insert mesh. I'm going to find the mesh file in my computer. This particular part is a front steering knuckle. I'm going to convert the mesh body into a component. It's the first thing that I do. From here, I'm going to go within that mesh file, which is now a component, and I'm going to start modeling and working on this from within there. I'll show you why that's relevant later. The next thing I'm going to do is go to Mesh, Direct Edit, select the body, and I'm going to use a 3-point plane and pick 3 average points on what I deem to be the flattest surface of the part, and you can kind of see how it's crossing over the mesh and how it interferes. From here, I have a plane that is a decent average. If you're unhappy with it, you can just delete that and try the plane again. We're going to go ahead and use this. Finish direct edit. The next thing I'm going to do is a offset plane. We'll set this back 3 millimeters. And the reason I'm setting it back 3 millimeters, it's not that critical, but I want it to cross through all of the holes. And I'm just going to hide the first plane that we did so it's not in our way. I'm then going to do a create mesh section sketch. Select the body, select the plane, and you can see that it's cutting right through all of those holes that we have wanted to capture. The next thing I'm going to do is edit that sketch and then do a fit curve to mesh. This command allows me to fit curves, lines, circles to the section sketch that we did. And I'm going to select this circle command because it's going to give me the best average of the circles that I want to use to orient this knuckle. After I've done that, we can then go up in the constraint menu and we can start making some good decisions on what we should do. We know that these holes are all going to be equal, so I'm going to make these holes equal. The next thing I know is that these, and you can confirm all this by measuring with a caliper or with a micrometer. If you actually have this knuckle, I'm assuming you do because you would have scanned it. We can use these constraint to our advantage in a way that you actually wouldn't be able to do in a lot of softwares. I can make these circles all the same, plus I can make these lines parallel to each other. I can also do midpoint to midpoint, and then I can make sure this is very, very slightly off. So if we do want to maintain concentricity with everything, we can simply position that there. Obviously, it's going to be ever so slightly off, but mesh section sketches are not absolutely perfect. They're based off the mesh. So if I do it this way, I know that if I model this knuckle later down the road, these are all going to be parametric. So after I'm satisfied with doing that, as far as the orientation goes, the next thing I would do is simply finish the sketch. And because we drew that sketch within the component, that sketch is now connected to this knuckle. So if I go back into this space, and if I unground it, this knuckle is able to be moved, and the sketch is now physically part of this knuckle, which is great for us because we now need to make the origin visible, and we need to get this knuckle over to this origin. Fortunately, using the constraints, we can do that even just based off of the sketch. So the next thing I'm going to do is very, very simply determine how I want to orient this. So if I look at my origin, I want my Z going up, I want my X here and my Y there, just like you can see in this corner. And the front of the knuckle here, I want on the front plane. So I can make this plane visible again. I know that's the one I want. I'm going to do a constraint from this plane to this plane. That is backwards. So we can hit this flip command, easy enough. The next thing I'm gonna do is an additional constraint. We'll do the center of our circle on the Y axis. And then our last constraint is gonna be an angular constraint to the X. And I'll just flip that. And it is as simple as that in regards to getting the knuckle into its origin, but we are definitely not done yet. If we look at the knuckle, and we actually, because we made a component from the knuckle has its own origin as well, and that is kind of problematic. You can see where the origin ends up being on the knuckle. Not to worry, we will be cleaning that up later. And I am kind of doing this just as a flow. I don't do this that often, but I do have a very good understanding of the objective. So basically, through multiple different types of approaches, I can always end up in the same result, and you can kind of just follow how I'm doing this and apply it in your own way. There may be a slightly better way to do it, but this has been a really tried and true method, especially when working with different types of files. The knuckles are not bad, but there are more complex parts out there. The next thing I want to do is I want to capture all the rest of the geometry of this knuckle, but it has to be based off of the very first plane we made. Because if I go ahead and I make a 3-point plane here on the side of this, it may be pretty decent, but it will not be perpendicular to this plane. It will not be perfect, that is. So in order to maintain that being perfect, I have to base my mesh section sketches off of the original origin. So the next thing I'm gonna do is create another offset plane, make sure I'm in the knuckle, and I'm gonna make it right off the middle. Let's go over like 10 millimeters. It should cut right through. And I actually wanna stay close to the side just because the scanner doesn't get into the middle of the holes, but it does get on the edges pretty well. So I'm gonna do another mesh section sketch, this mesh, and then the plane I want, it's trying to select other plane, this plane. So you can see how this plane is cutting through the holes that we need to select, and it is exactly perpendicular to the original. So we can do the exact same thing, go into our sketch, edit the sketch, fit curve to mesh, select the circle, and I can now add these circles and I can do the exact same thing. We'll make them equal. And if you have your calipers or micrometer on you, you could actually go in here and dimension these. I do know that that's pretty accurate. 14.3 is what I captured. So 14.296 is probably exactly what it is. And we're gonna leave those there for now. So we have these 4 holes, the center bearing, we have the 2 sides. We need to capture the brake calipers. And don't worry about all these planes that we keep adding. It's really not gonna be that big of a deal. So I'm gonna do the same thing, an offset plane from, it doesn't really matter, it could be the face, it could be from whatever, as long as it's the same. And we need to now cut through the brake calipers. And it's a little hard to see, but 10 millimeters back should cut through these 2 holes here. And we're gonna do the exact same thing. Mesh section sketch, select the body, select the sketch, and you can see we are cutting through the brake caliper mounts. So I'm going to do the same thing, edit that sketch, fit curve to mesh, circle, select those brake caliper ears. Perfect. And then the next thing I'm going to do is also make those equal as well, because I know that they are. Once I've confirmed that, I basically have the majority of the geometry I need, at least the stuff that I know is perpendicular. There are a couple stragglers over here. You can see these. These are all tapered holes. These are cones. To do these, you have to do a couple extra steps if you want to do them correctly. And one little trick of the trade in terms of capturing these well so that you can actually engineer and design a taper that's going to fit this really, really close or perfect. You can do this manually, but you can also do it with the mesh file and get really, really close. So I'm going to do a mesh, direct edit mesh, select this. Then I'm going to do a 3-point plane on the flattest part of what I can find. And the bottom of this knuckle I know is definitely a machined face. Finish that. I'm now going to simply create a sketch on the bottom of this, and I will do my very best to fit the circle to this. Now this is always going to be the part where there is margin for error, but when it comes to tapered ball joints, there's really only a couple things that you need to capture, and the angle is the most important. You can always reduce or increase the taper to get a different depth. So what we are trying to capture here as close as possible is the taper angle, and this is going to do a very good job at that. So we have a circle, a sketch that's in place. The next step is a little rudimentary, but it is going to work well. We're actually going to create a new component. And the reason we're creating a new component is because we can make its origin visible, and then we can actually joint its origin right to that sketch circle. And the reason why this is going to be so handy is because we can now go into this component. I can create a mesh section sketch off of the plane. So basically do the same process that we've been doing. And it's going to give us a slice right through this taper. So this body, this plane, and you can see it highlighting itself there very clearly, the taper right through the middle of this, and it's going to give us a good result. So I'll show you how I'll work with this. We'll go into here, we will edit this sketch, we will fit curve to mesh, but in this case I'm not going to use the circle, I will use the straight line. So we're going to go from this point to this point. We'll do another line down here. Repeat that command. We want to get the best average of this taper. Repeat that. We want to get another line here, and we're basically choosing faraway points at the greatest average of the line. And from here we have a good top line and bottom line referencing our section sketch. So these are going to be really very close. And from here I'm going to do an extend, and we'll do a trim. I typically don't use these commands other than in this. So we have given ourselves a pretty decent cone here. So all we need to do is make a center point line from the middle of this line to the middle of this line. We're not going to use any constraints here because we're only using half of this cone. We're going to do a revolve. So I just hit Shift R there. That is my quick command for a revolve. I'm going to select the profile and the axis, and that is going to give me what that cone really looks like as if it was a body. And from here we can use this body to do all kinds of different things down the road, but for now I just want it to be part of this knuckle. I want it to be all one. So the next thing I'm going to do is go back into the knuckle. I'm now going to make bodies from all of these sketches, and this part is kind of redundant. It does require you to measure the knuckle and then determine what these values should really be. And there would be a way I could do, like I said, a 3-point plane, and I could extrude it to that plane, but that plane may not be perpendicular to the original origin. I want to do the two sides so we can get this going. These can also always be trimmed later. We are really trying to just get the critical dimensions of this knuckle and of the circles that we're going to need to be using. So from here I'm going to do, there's those, and then we're going to do the same thing here. This one is nice because we can just go to the original construction plane that we did. We will do two sides, and the back side doesn't really matter. There you have a decent idea. I'm not going to do these because they're redundant. They're essentially the exact same as what I did there. So from here, what do we really have? We have a component that's constrained to the origin, but it's quite a messy timeline. It's quite a messy part because our origin of the part is actually still over here, and then the origin of our assembly is correct. So I really don't want to use this. I don't want to save it. I don't want to use it. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is quite interesting, and I only really figured it out by necessity. I really wanted to clean these things up. So what I'm going to do is actually, these are just from the mesh sections and copies. So we actually don't need them at all. The fact that there's 3 of them is not a big deal. The one that's visible, I'm going to move up to the main level. So you can see that we just turned the component back into the body, which is cool. I just found that out by accident. And then the bodies, going to do the same thing, bring it up to the top level. We're going to do the exact same thing with that one component we created, which is this pesky little guy here. And we're going to move that up to the top level as well. So when we close all of these, we actually now have all of these bodies back on the top level. And these components here are now essentially worthless. Now, you would think you could just delete it, but if you look at what happens, it deletes the mesh and it gives you an error. So we don't want that, but we do want a clean assembly. So what I'm going to do is change to direct modeling, and then I'm going to delete that because there really wasn't anything in them. They were just connected through the timeline. Now I can go back to parametric modeling, and you can see we have a perfect oriented part, clean mesh, good bodies locating all of our critical dimensions. The taper, the bodies, everything is great. From here, we can hide this origin. I could save this part as the knuckle that I need. And I'm going to show you guys one more trick. This essentially would be a left front knuckle, but what if you need a right? You don't want to go and scan another one just to get the exact same result. You want to be able to model this and just mirror it. So we're going to do something a little redundant, but it's good practice. Create component from body. A complete reverse of what we just did. I'm going to put all these bodies back into this component. Now look at this. We have a component outside of the assembly that has a good origin, and we are now able to mirror components. So we can click on this, go to the mirror command, click mirror components, objects selected, mirror plane, this one, and we have successfully mirrored all the bodies and the mesh file, giving us a left and right knuckle. And from here, it's the same problem. You can't delete this because that is the originating body that we mirrored from. So it is referenced, but we can do change to direct modeling. We can delete this from the design space, go back to parametric modeling. And here we have the opposite knuckle perfectly mirrored. And we can just do a save as left and a save as right. That is how I work with these mesh files, and that is how I use them in large assemblies that require a ton of constraints. And we do all kinds of suspension simulations using components just like this. These bodies are great for joint constraints, for joining ball joints, and having these mesh files work within Fusion is really, really nice. And it's only gotten better over the years. I've been doing this for a long time. This, if you don't have any post-processing softwares for doing mesh files, this is definitely the best way, and it will get you extremely close. If you guys enjoyed this video, I do seminars every 2 weeks. You can check out my website, fdfraceshop.com, where you can see everything that I've designed and built. I also have the live seminars that I talked about. I also have seminars that you can buy that I already recorded. These are up to 2 hours long of intensive over-the-shoulder style seminars that you can watch exactly how I build parts and components designed to manufacture. I'll be doing more videos like this with Fusion, so if you want to see more, look for me on the next ones. Thank you guys for watching. This is going to be a great tip for you. See you on the next one.